air fryer.
Hello, friends and brothers. This is Dennis Yates, your host for Masonic Improvement, and this is the Inner Circle Live. Brothers, thank you for showing up tonight. I surely appreciate you. I always appreciate you, and I always appreciate the conversation. But I'm even more especially attuned to that appreciation tonight because we've got a hard topic to tackle tonight, and uh, and that is social media. And well, I'm going to expand it, not just social media, but web presence. What is your web footprint out there in the internet world? So with that being said, I'm going to let our district communicator here in District 36 uh, say some stuff first, and because I think that he does an excellent job of expanding the footprint of Goliad 94 and District 36, and so I think that it's only fitting that I pay homage to that because he has done a great job with it. Josh, thank you for being on tonight.
Oh, well, no problem, Dennis. Thanks for putting me on the spot there real quick. Um, yeah, I mean, social media is a powerful tool that we can use and that people should be able to utilize. There's many different platforms nowadays. I mean, when social media started back almost almost 20 years ago now, that's kind of crazy to say.
Oh, more than that.
Wait there
Till I
was
tell you my age and explain what I did.
well, passing notes in school isn't the same thing as Facebook, Dennis. So,
Pretty
um,
close.
but so I mean, it's you have all these different platforms between X and Instagram and Facebook and Reddit and all these different. I mean, Instagram, TikTok, and I mean, my daughter's on Be Real, which is another platform. There's just so many different platforms that you can utilize, but you need to make sure you're utilizing it correctly and also that your social media footprint is appropriate. Me personally, I do not post a whole lot anymore. I might share a funny meme here or there, or things like that. I mainly post for lodge stuff and events like that, but you need to make sure that you're posting responsibly. I know my wife personally is an educator, so she is very cautious on what gets posted on Facebook and all the other platforms. Everything has to be approved by her just because of her job, and that's a lot of us nowadays is our jobs and are looking at those kinds of things. I know the younger generation, younger than maybe Daniel, but because he's a young buck, but all the rest of us, we didn't have to worry about really what we posted on our social media pages back when we started working because they didn't look at that. But nowadays, a lot of the younger guys, when they go for an interview, the next thing they do after the interview is go look at their social media pages, and so you may get in trouble. So if it's used correctly and utilized as a information tool, which is what it should be utilized for in cases of Masonic areas, letting everybody know what's going on in the district. I mean, right now we're in installation, we're fixing to wrap up installation season in the next week and a half or so. And so you see a lot of brothers that are, being installed, first time worshipful masters, Brother Dutton down there. Another buddy of mine, Cody Coppinger, it was his first time going to the East, so he was posting that on Facebook, and so it's good to post things like that so we can not only uh, uplift those brothers that are moving into those spots, but it's a good to celebrate them too. I mean, I've got probably 1,000 pictures from when I went to the East the first time, and now it's like, okay, let's have a picture. It's fine. It's just me. Um,
I'm gonna
so yeah,
just for
me too, Dan.
just for y'all's information, I'm going to take away my video because my internet is spotty tonight for some reason, and I had just tested it before I jumped on. Um, so don't think I've gone anywhere. I am listening attentively. I'm just
So what and while Dennis is doing that, what Dennis was alluding to is as DCO 36, what I do is I message the worship masters every week to kind of see what we have going on in the district. This week is actually kind of light. We've only got 4 school going on, and then I will post that on. We have a group page, a private group page for District 36 that we can utilize to communicate between between the lodges in our district and talk about what we got going on. And so I'll post that. I usually post the Grand Lodge Monday morning short bulletin that Mike Mystery puts out. I post that on there, and then if there's any events we got going on, I'll create a Facebook event in there that so that way everybody knows it's like installations are going on, or we got a fundraiser, we got an EA going on. I'll post some stuff in there like that. So that's usually the extent of my interaction with lodges for social media. I know Goliad has a page, and I know Dennis set that up a while back, and so we utilize that a little bit. So, but like I said, it's social media should be used as a communications tool to be able to communicate with not only brothers in your district, but also to reach out to other districts that are in the area. That a lot of times I saw that Lafayette Lodge in LaGrange is putting on Fellowcraft Lodge next week. I think I saw. And so things like that. If they got a degree going on, you can post that so other brothers can show up and help. So, but it's definitely a tool to be utilized. A lot of times lodges probably underutilize it. I know that's the other flip side of it. It can be difficult, and anyone that's ever ran a Facebook page and try to maintain it can be tiresome of trying to keep up with the posts and analytics and doing everything like that. So it's if you're not on top of it and continuing to work it, it can be kind of cumbersome to keep up with. But it's something good that to get out there and utilize, and that other people can see who we are. Because a lot of times we get that stigmatism of the Masons, and they're like, "Oh, who are those?" And so we have a group page that, or a page that you can share with other people and kind of reach out to you and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, like Facebook, Instagram, those are all different social media platforms that can be utilized. But on the flip side of that, I'll stop talking about how to utilize it as a tool, but as I wouldn't just say as Masons, just as people in general, you need to be cognizant of what you're posting on Facebook. Um, they call them what, keyboard warriors. They get in the comments and start typing all sorts of crazy comments. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen it on posts on Facebook and stuff. And
Hey, no need
it's
to
just,
call me out tonight. We're not doing that.
well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Your comments need to quit. I mean, your head's too big already, as Daniel Dutton's post said, because Daniel forgot that you do aprons, and so I'm glad that I was able to remind him of that, and so that your head could get a little bit bigger than what it already was. Um, but it's it's one of those. Oh, there's
Congratulations, Mason.
Mason Message, the Master Mason, and Demolay of the Year. Um, he knows all about social media. So it's one of those. This when we're posting on social media, remember that nothing on the internet ever gets deleted, and it's there forever. Um, so don't post crazy stuff and make crazy comments, because it'll never go away. It's one of the. I know I don't know if everybody knows this, but there's an app called Snapchat. When it came out years ago, it was the coolest app, because you post a picture and you only get to see it for 10 seconds and it goes away. Well, they finally came out years later and said, yeah, it's all stored on the server somewhere, so it never really gets deleted. So it's there forever. Um, but yeah, that's.
Sweet.
And then, like I said, again, going back to work, I actually had to have this was probably 10 years ago. I had to have a tough conversation with one of my employees because he posted something that someone didn't like, and they traced it all the way back to where he worked, and they called the CEO of the company, and the CEO called me and said, fix it now or he's fired. Yes, sir. So I had to have a rough conversation about what he posted on his Facebook that he thought was right and someone else didn't. So that's when I removed where I'm employed at on Facebook. And so you don't see that anymore. I don't know, but and It can be, again, it can be a useful tool or it can be your worst enemy, depending on how you use it. So, and that's
Hey,
all I got to say about that.
hey, I got a story similar to that, Josh. We had a guy that worked for me. He was downline. He worked for a manager who worked for a manager and said something, and somebody found his Facebook page and figured out his uniform shirt, dug in a little further and a little further, and come to find out the guy was a bandito,
Wow.
like the motorcycle club.
Yep.
And so the bandito membership compiled with the Facebook comments didn't end well. Nothing against the banditos. SYLB, SYB, SYLB, support your local banditos, but it's just interesting. So good point. Thank you there, brother Kovar.
Well, and most
Yeah,
of
the
y'all. Go ahead, Jason. I apologize. Go ahead.
no, I no. If you got something quick, I because I'm going into a longer spiel.
Okay. Most of y'all probably realize, most of you guys definitely realize that I typically don't post stuff with my personal feelings unless it's some kind of a joke or something on my personal Facebook page. You really don't see much coming from my personal Facebook page at all. And I really don't like sharing a lot of pictures of my daughter on Facebook either. You know, being 10 years old, I don't want her on Facebook yet. And so usually when y'all see pics, it's in Texas Freemasons or something like that. That's kind of a closed group of somewhat um, of trusted people, I would say. I mean, most of the people I would say are trusted. I don't know everybody that's on Texas Freemasons, of course, but I definitely, because you have to be a Mason to join, um, I definitely trust that as a closed network a little bit more than other stuff. So when I write something esoteric or something thoughtful or something like that, it's usually in a closed network type setting. But anyways, that was my real quick, and I'll let Jason take it. I've got some other thoughts and reasoning as to why I wanted to start this talk tonight. Go ahead, Jason.
Let me. Oh, I was going to say something before Jason gets started. Mine's real short. It happened to me. Um, I made a little comment one time. It's back when the all the street protests were out, and they were getting out in the middle of the streets and setting up, shutting up traffic and this that, and the other. And I made a flippant comment, which is stupid, and and then of course, it got back to by the superintendent, and of course, he called the principal, and he called me in, and he says, "Did you do that?" Just yeah, I did. And so then when I explained myself, you know what I should have done, I should have put more verbiage in what I did, but it sounded like, and I certainly did. I look back at it; it was a stupid thing to do. So I certainly uh, can you got to read and watch yourself, because like you don't never know who's looking, and it could come back and bite you. So anyway, we have to watch what we do, and that's the last time I'll do something like that. I'll say I learned my lesson.
Jason, one more quick thing before you start.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead, Dennis. It's your show.
it's not that intentional, but it was so funny.
Hey
I get
Jason, hold on. Hey Jason, hold on.
yeah,
Wait.
exactly. That's what I was thinking. But anyways, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the people who have jumped on the chat already. Jackson Ransom, Secret Agent Jimmy, um, of course Jeff came on just for a second, and then Ken Dolly, um, Rosanala 2825. I hope I didn't butcher that too much. Um, and then Sadie sometimes. How are you, Sadie? And then I wanted to say one thing real quick that I noticed. Jackson Ransom mentioned Signal, and that is one of the programs that I use for, or that my one of my lodges uses for our communications between the officers and a few of us individually. But anyways, go ahead, Jason. Sorry about that. But Signal's a great
You're,
program.
yeah.
Hey, Jason, before you start, real quick, just kidding. Go ahead.
I love you all. Yeah, I mean, as far as using social media as a tool, I think you guys probably know where I land on that. I'm administrator of probably about 7 or 8 different pages and stuff. But on the personal side, the one thing I do want to kind of remind people, because I've seen it a few times, and I think people kind of forget this. So when you're talking about Facebook groups, part of, and some of these uh, other groups, and those are closed groups. Like you have to either be invited or you have to ask to be a part of it. And so now I would say in general, anything posted to those usually stays in those groups. Obviously, we know anybody can take a screenshot and repost it. So obviously it's not complete free for all. You can't just say whatever you want in these closed groups. However, there is a difference between public groups, and I've seen a few people that have made comments, not even posting in these public groups, but commented on posts in a public group. So what happens is, if you are friends with that person, if it is a public group, it's possible that that comment will pop up in your timeline. And there was one, and I absolutely am not going to say who it was, but he posted, and he is part of a nudist community, and obviously does not post
I
post
wouldn't know.
yeah, he doesn't post that anywhere else, and I guarantee you it's something that he keeps in his private life, which whatever. But he commented in a public nudist group, and it popped up in my timeline. So information that I now know about him that he probably really doesn't want out there everywhere, but because he commented in a public group, it just popped up. Anyway, just something to kind of remind everybody, be careful about and making sure that when you're interacting with these Facebook groups, whether it's truly a private group, or if it's a public group, or if it's they used to call them secret groups. I don't know if they still have those anywhere. Nice. Thank you. Anyway, now, as far as on a personal level, you guys have seen I post a lot. And one of the other things that you guys often see me post about is every time I get installed in an officer position. And I actually have a reason for that. It's not just for me, just to, yeah, it's not just, just for my, own self, grandization and self promotion, stuff like that. For one thing, it serves as a help for me to remember what officer position I got installed as. Because I don't, sometimes I will, stop rolling your eyes at me. I'll go to a meeting, and I'm sure this has happened to several of you.
And
You
you
go
try to
there and
run
you're
it?
like, what did, no, what did I get in? What did I get in? I usually know if I'm running it, but I'm like, what position did I, because, some of these groups have very, very strange names, and they don't quite correspond to something else. And anyway, so that's one thing.
I just asked William today what one of my positions is, and
Right.
he reminded me. It's like, oh, okay. And
Yeah,
that's
right.
correlated
Exactly.
to
I was
this,
gonna
and he
ask-
said yes. So
I was going to ask Jason how many times he can be installed at something, because every time I open my Facebook feed, he's installed at some new kind of officer.
Well, you're going to be seeing another one tomorrow. Anyway.
Oh, here we go.
Jason's not going to eat at home until he's dead.
That's right. Yeah, and my wife appreciates that.
The only time he
But-
doesn't have a meeting is on Sunday. That's practice day.
Right. So one of the other reason that I do it is, you used to um you used to be able to sit down with a photo album and you would look through your grandparents or even your parents um photo albums and see what their life is and what they did and take pictures and stuff like that. Well, in my mind, social media has kind of taken that place. And so a lot of the reasons why I post as much as I do and about what I'm doing, and especially, as I'm moving through chairs and I did this and I'm going to this and stuff like that, is so that one day, you know, when I'm gone, my kids and hopefully maybe my grandkids will be able to go back and look and see, oh, this is who he was. This is what he did. Because, like, for example, one of the neatest things I came across with my grandfather, um, going through some of his old stuff, because my mother sent a lot of his old elk stuff, is I found all of his name badges. And you could line up his name badges and see his progression through the chairs. And so that to me is, is why you see me as post as much as I do. Now, have I ever gotten caught in some interaction online? Yeah, my wife now, years and years ago, actually defriended me on Facebook because of I'd gotten political, we're talking about 10 plus years ago, and she didn't like what I was posting and blah 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 and stuff like that. And over time, you will not see me post any kind of social commentary, political commentary, anything like that. Everything that I generally post is about what's going on in my life, what I'm doing, who I'm with, blah blah blah. And to me, that's just it kind of gives a record and of for my hopefully posterity will be able to go back and see, you know, who their dad was as they have gotten older. Because, right now I, I don't see my kids every day. I mean, they're, off at College Station, and my daughter's over at A&M San Antonio, and they're off, doing their own thing. So, they don't really know day to day, what dad's doing and what, and what I'm involved in and stuff like that. And so, hopefully one day, they'll be able to go back and see at least the good stuff. I'm not putting all the bad stuff I do.
That's one of the big things is, nobody wants a drama queen on Facebook, right? Woe is me. Nobody likes to see that on, well, some people like to see it, but not me. I don't want to see that. So, you know, and I think that's what what's funny is that's what most people present is their happiness, all the good stuff. And so you start comparing your life with these, good stuff people, and forget that they have negative sides as well. But then if you say something, just one thing that doesn't sit right with somebody, oh my goodness, it just turns their world upside down. So because they're used to everything being happy and cheerful and everybody, saying exactly what is politically correct this year. Um, so you do have to be mindful in everything that you do, whether it's good intentions or not. You just have to be mindful of it. However, I do want to say,
Well, and I think,
and I think you are. Don't get me wrong. I'm just go ahead. I'll let you finish because I'm fixing to go
well,
into
and
why I.
and Well, and some of you may have seen me post a couple weeks ago of a particularly dark day, and that's the day that we lost 6 goats here
That was a bummer.
at the ranch.
And I know that you don't
And
post like that all the time.
yeah, and I really struggled with it, but it was one of those times where, I think there were others, especially if you're out in a rural area and you've got any kind of livestock or animals or whatever, um, that people could relate to, but it also was, there was a frustration on my part because of this happened because other people were being irresponsible with their animals. And I just said I don't post any social commentary. I just lied. That was, but whatever. But I did.
And I caught you, and that should teach
I
you a great lesson.
right. So right.
I trolled
So
you, and you didn't even
but I did.
realize it.
Yeah. But I did. I really struggled with it, and I really tried to word it in a way that you could get my anger. My anger came across, but I wasn't, you know, just, shooting off from the hip. Like I really put some thought into posting that because, I do. I understand that not everything in your life is unicorns and rainbows. There are tough times, in your life, and there are every once in a while. I will post maybe some things that are happening and that are not so great. But no, I mean like not every day. I'm gonna say, well, I've stubbed my toe today, and I'm really sad about it.
As long as you don't show me a picture of your big toe. Um, and yeah, I didn't say anything to really. I didn't intend for that to be a gotcha or anything like that. I was just talking, um, about it in general because there are some people that's all they like to do is post their complaints, and nobody wants to see that. Daniel, I'll get to you in just 1 second. Jackson Ransom, I really like what you put on here saying, do you not have reservations about publicly posting about our society with secrets? And I do have reservations. However, it's like this show. It would not happen if I was too reserved. Um, but I'm interested to know what grand jurisdiction you're in. That's interesting that they say that, um, and that's cool. I dig it. But that they say don't talk about your role, whatever role you're in, unless asked, and kind of dig it. That's that takes that kind of levels the playing field, right? But um, I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to say something about that in particular. And now I'm going to turn it over to Daniel. I He is a bit of a SME in this, SME being subject material expert. Um, but I do want to get my point across in a little bit as to why I started this conversation. So after Daniel, then I'm going to jump on. So you guys hold your thoughts because I'm going to jump on after Daniel.
No, I just was gonna jump in and say, like what Jason was talking about, just seeing other people's things today. Actually, I had experience, and I'm a little embarrassed to share it, but our town is going through some budgeting, and the city council met with some budget stuff, and one of our council members posted on Facebook, "Oh, we might be getting rid of a library." I saw that, immediately jumped on, said, "Oh, libraries are important." Da, 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 da. And another very close personal friend of mine who is on the city council called me and said, "Hey, Daniel, here's the rest of the story." And it was just a comment. So, like to what Jason was saying earlier, like even if you just comment on something, and so I had to go back and retract and delete what I said, and then correct with proper information that I received later on. And it is it's what I think what Jason was saying earlier, and just keep in mind, sometimes give it 20 minutes or 30 minutes before you hit that send the message button, because sometimes if you're doing it in anger or with frustration, it is not the best moment to do that. And for me, I was walking to church and I'm like sitting here being a hothead about the public libraries in our town.
You
And
heated up.
yeah, I hung up my phone for 2 hours while I was at church, and then got out and got a message from my friend and city council person, and he said, "Hey, you need the rest of the information." So, with that, Dennis, I'll defer to you, sir.
It's interesting that you say that, because I and this is part of the reason why I did this, not this particular thing, but you know, I had a post today that I talked about um, something I saw online with the governor, and he's talking about, and we are not gonna, and I'm gonna repeat, we are not going to get into a political conversation on this show. If anybody does, I'm gonna end your feed. Just letting you know that. Um, but anyways, so I saw this thing on that the governor was doing online, and there was one thing that he said that stuck out to me, because I'm always thinking about the lodges, right? And he said basically that somebody had complained about um, these the school shutting down, and said it was from underfunding or whatever, and the governor said, well, that school is from demographics, that there's just not enough students to support that school anymore. And anyways, so I wrote something about that, and I said, it's kind of interesting, because I think about Freemasonry, and he said it was unwise for them to spend taxpayers' dollars on a school that was unable to be supported by its community. And I you know I immediately thought of a hot topic that's going around every lodge in the nation right now, and especially in Texas, because we're huge. But I wrote about it, and then of course, to Daniel's point, and I did not go back into the conversation once it started, but there was a guy that had to say, "Well, I don't know why you used him as a reference. Their people have been, underfunding them for years, and underfunding education for years." Like, dude, that's not what this is about. I I felt like just saying, you know what, bye bye now, and hiding his feed, but I decided to just wait and give it some time. I still haven't responded yet, and I still probably will just hide his deal, because we shouldn't be talking about stuff like, he made it a political issue instead of just seeing the point I was trying to get across, that the government tries to, there's at times, I wouldn't say they always do, but they're trying to make the best use of our tax dollars as they can. And we have to think about that with our lodges, that maybe they're underfunded, and they don't have the membership to support their activities, and they need to start thinking about consolidating. And a dear friend of mine, Bob Davis, he jumped on and said, "I agree with what you're saying." He said, and to be honest, we absolutely have to protect our rural lodges. But he said the same thing I've been thinking for years, is that these districts, we have these huge 5 lodge districts that have, you know 20 active members, if that. And so why not consolidate them into one big lodge, or one bigger lodge, and let it thrive, instead of, and put all the resources into that lodge, instead of spreading it out and thinning the herd and waiting for people to die out, and lose membership. But in doing that, I also mentioned that to Bob, in that thread. I'm He had talked about five the five old guys that show up faithfully to open lodge every month, and that it doesn't necessarily represent Freemasonry anymore, and they're just waiting until each one leaves, until the last one turns off the light, right? And that's not really representative of Freemasonry. And it dawned on me that had that lodge or those lodges had the vision, when I joined in 2009, that's what, 17 years ago now? When I joined, I did my research on the internet. I looked up the lodge through the internet. I reached out to the lodge through the internet in 2009. What do you think's happening today in 2026? So if that lodge doesn't have the vision to be able to see that this is an invaluable tool, we need this footprint online so that people will contact us through the only means they're going to nowadays, just about. We very rarely get people that just ask us individually to be Masons. They will contact us through online sources. Even if they know a brother, they will typically go online to look for that petition. After they've researched everything, they'll talk to that brother about it, then they'll go home, they'll do more research, and then after they do their research right then and there, they'll make that decision and they'll want to get a hold of somebody right then. That's our generation. That's where we live today. But we don't have the footprint in all these smaller lodges. And the 5 brothers that Bob used as an example, it makes me think that those brothers probably aren't tooled up in their lodge to be able to receive those inquiries. They probably never were tooled up to receive those inquiries in their lodges. And it's almost like, we went through the silent generation of Masons that never did say anything at all to the outside world, even their own families, as to what Freemasonry was. And it really hurt our lodges. Well, think of all these lodges out there with people that aren't tooled up and aren't able to have that footprint that they need to have. They're basically being the silent generation today with their online presence. So if people aren't thinking about this, they need to. Yes, we have to be wise, but we have to have that footprint. Go ahead. That was the rest of my story. That I love it that you said the rest of the story earlier, because Paul Harvey's one of my very favorite commentators of all times. He always will be. Now for the rest of the story. Go ahead. Sorry about that, Byron. Had to go on a rant.
No worries. So one of the things that I did notice recently, one of the things that I did notice recently on the, I think it was on the Texas Freemasons page, one of our internet gurus, Brother Haston, posted about, hey, I got all of these inquiries off of the Grand Lodge website, which is going direct to your point, Dennis. But when I reach out to or when I try to forward the information to the lodges that are being inquired about, they have no current contact information for a secretary, a worshipful master, any of the lodge officers. Their information on the Grand Lodge website or in Grandview is all out of date. And yeah, we're missing tons of dudes like that if we're not making certain that all of our lodge information is correct and updated within Grand Lodge, within the Grandview system. If we're not maintaining either a true web presence in the form of a website for the lodge, then you should at the very least have something on social media, whether it be Facebook or X or whatever they're calling everything else these days. I mean, Facebook is really the only one that I use, and that's always under protest.
And that's
But I
because we're
know
the
that
old
that is the only
generation.
way.
The younger
What
generation
is
is using
what
new
is this
stuff.
we
We're the
nonsense,
old
Kimosabe? You
guys.
got a mouse in your pocket? You are not an old guy.
Dude,
I am
I
an
was
old
gonna say,
guy.
okay, so I was gonna say earlier that my first experience with social media, when I was, what was I? I was 17 or 18. I already lived on my own. I was balling for a young chap, and I had this little box. It was a little monochrome screen that was about 6 inches. Oh, I'm sitting here holding up my hands like y'all can see me. It was like 6 inches by 6 inches. It was a green monochrome screen, and all it what had was the name of somebody or the tagline of somebody, and then a keyboard, little bitty keyboard. And that was the first social media. And this was before they started advertising for, what was it, AOL or Internet America. This was before that. This was right before that
Are you talking
happened.
about ICQ?
You might be right. It's been so long, I couldn't even remember the name, but it was
It
so,
was a Unix-based communications protocol.
yes, it was so cool. I was
Hmm.
the guy in my town because I had that. But
I was 30 when that started. Just saying.
shit, that's funny. That's so funny.
Yeah,
We love you, Byron. Thank you for being on the show.
you just take time left.
Let's do the time warp, guys. But it's interesting because we say that this generation grew up on it, but really, I'm an Xer, and I kind of grew up on it. It started when I was a late teen, early 20s. That's when the internet really started kicking off and as a personal thing, right? Everybody started getting a computer in their house. So it is just absolutely insane when we look at like the data chart that Zach gave us this last week on on uh, on membership. It showed that the people that were starting to the the people that were joining the fraternity, the median age was about 34 to 38 years old. That was the highest peak of the chart as far as joining age. And when you think about that, and you think about the fact that us at our age um, grew up with it, these guys really did, and this is serious. This is a serious business. And with that, just so that you guys know, we are so close. I'll say we because Sandy Newman has been helping me. We are so close to having a full on website ready for Masonic Improvement to where we're going to shift all inner circle things to the website, and you'll do everything through Masonic Improvement instead of going through YouTube for a lot of the stuff. So, and we are extremely close, and then we've got bigger plans after we launch that. So, anyways, it I I've been kicking it around for a while, and then I really just lit a little light under my butt here lately because I'm thinking, I'm supposed to have this online presence, and I don't. I shame on me. And like I said, I've been thinking about it, and I don't know the new um, all the new social media things out there. So what I'm going to have to do is get geared up and log into all these things and create some accounts. I think what we need to do is create an app and make some money off of it to where we can post one thing and then it'll go to all of them. Just
Well, and not for nothing, but you could probably sell a few more aprons if you had some way to order them online. Hint, hint.
right? I know. Well, that's another thing. I don't really advertise my business of regalia and apron cases and stuff. It's all word of mouth, and from time to time somebody will say something on Facebook and then there's a big stir, and so the word gets out a little bit. But I hadn't, yeah.
Exactly. Just ask Daniel.
There's a reason why I had to post on Facebook because I forgot. Even though I ordered a past master apron and case from Dennis, and he has the most beautiful past master cases and aprons. But like, oh yeah, I need a white canvas apron, and Dennis is coming through.
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, just so that you guys know, well, I'm going to take care of some housekeeping real quick. I love it that we have so many people in the chat right now. But if you want to become an Inner Circle member, if you like us, like us. If you really like us, subscribe. If you just love us and can't get enough of us, you can become an Inner Circle member at any time by clicking the join button with YouTube. Pretty soon that'll be in our actual website that you'll join. But for now, it's in YouTube. So if you like that, go ahead and do it. But I wanted to do a quick, shout out since you mentioned it. That yeah, I do have this little regalia company that I'm doing, and it's basically I'm not getting rich off of it. I'm basically just trying to do an extra service for the brothers out there, because like Jason had mentioned earlier, he's a member of 1,000 different parts of the organization, as with most of us on this inner circle. It gets costly with all the regalia that we buy for everything, and so I tried to come up with an affordable option and very customizable option for Masons out there. And right now, I've created a cloth apron for the lodges to replace their old dingy aprons, and I've got a introductory special going on because this is my first run of them for any lodges that are interested. So if you are interested, just give me a holler on Facebook or Messenger, and I'll be happy to talk to you a little bit about it and tell you about those aprons. But but Daniel's right. I don't ever talk about it online too much. I really don't want people to think that I'm only in this to make money or anything like this. It's like this. It's like this YouTube channel. I am not getting rich off this YouTube channel. I can assure you. YouTube themselves, they're getting rich off of all of the channels out there. There are very few millionaires that are being made with YouTube. Just so that you know. Um, so it's more of a heartfelt service, because I do live in one of those lodges that um, I do live in one of those areas with the lodges that are having a tough time, and they're supported mainly by the same 20 brothers that just keep shifting around, taking different chairs in each one of the lodges. And so the information that's gathered in those lodges are very much the same all the time. There's not a whole there's not a I travel an hour away several times a month, and 2 hours away several times a month to get my Freemasonry. And so that's why this channel is here, is for all those people out there that feel like they're on an island, and they're just looking for something a little bit different from what they're getting in their Blue Lodge. I strongly support my Blue Lodges. I love them. I love the brothers in them. Don't get me wrong. This is just something for us to just have open conversations about what's going on in the world and with our Freemasonry. What you got, Jeff? And before you get started, I'll say, glad you made it, Zach. I just mentioned you with one of the charts. Your ears must have been burning, but I'm gonna give it to Jeff real quick, because he's had his hand up for about 20 minutes waiting for me to shut up.
20 minutes. 20 minutes seems like a lot. No, I think there was some comments earlier about the guys before us, essentially our grandfathers, and how they didn't necessarily promote the order. And so when we talk about today's Masons, and all of us sit in lodge with this guy, and I don't mean this critically, but they don't not outwardly promote in the sense of recruiting, but they don't outwardly project themselves in the world as Masons, other than hopefully their behavior. And so I think that where maybe the more progressive Masons of today are frustrated that some of the older, the more long-term Masons haven't been more outgoing in expressing the fact that they are a Mason and the good that a lodge can do and whatnot. They're just doing what they knew. right? I mean, think about that, right? They don't promote themselves, they don't promote the fraternity, they don't promote anything, because when they came in, they they got degrees by guys that didn't do that. They learned that that's not what you do, and at the same time, there were probably still 175,000 Masons in Texas. So I think a little bit of what I see, because I get to see, I'm fortunate enough I get to move in different circles and different lodges. A lot of times these guys are doing what they inherited, and it's not going to help us get to tomorrow.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. I'm gonna now that Zach is here. Um, you weren't part of the conversation when it started, but we were talking. We have been talking about the importance of the digital footprint, and also the importance of um, understanding how to be wise with the digital footprint and not divulge too much information or make us look bad as a brotherhood. Um, you are a
Hey,
member of,
Dennis.
yeah.
Dennis, real quick, before you let Zach take the reins, Jason said he's fixing to have to leave, and he had one more comment before he had to go.
Well, Jason, you should have texted me. Did you text me? Or is that too
Well,
busy talking?
I put it in the I put it in the chat. It just real quick, just because it's been a long day. I need to get moving on some other stuff.
Okay, real quick, and then
Um,
I'm going to jump on with
just
Zach.
Yeah, no, it is completely separate. As most of you guys know, I'm chairman of the San Antonio Scottish Rite Education Committee. Um, if you don't know, we have our monthly online Zoom class tomorrow evening. We are at the penultimate chapter of Secret Teachings of All Ages. However, um, we've got a pretty interesting series coming up where we're going to go over the book, the Ancient Manuscripts of the Freemasons. And so every month will be a different, basically either a different um, uh, document or publication that was put out. So some of the founding documents of our of Freemasonry, and so I just look for that. We're going to be putting some stuff out there on social media, but they're open to all Master Masons. But it should be a pretty interesting series that's coming up, because if you don't like one month, it's going to be completely different the next month. And so I invite all of you guys and anybody else out there that is interested in Masonic education to join us. So
Very
anyway,
nice. Very
that's all I
nice.
had.
What day is that on?
Thank you, guys.
What day is the Phoenix
It's
Academy on?
always the online one, which is open to all Master Masons, is the third Monday of each month at 6:30, and it's on Zoom. If you are interested in being on the email list, just message me directly, and I'll make sure that you get on that email list.
I cannot wait,
So
Jason. Thank you very much.
okay, all right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Another quick mention while I've got the bulk of everybody on the show is that next week we're going to have an all-in live. Sanctuary of Truth on the chat is asking about how to be on the panel here. Come on next week. I'm going to submit the link to the Masonic Improvement Facebook page, and anyone that gets on there will have an opportunity to get on the show and introduce themselves. I am so glad you're here all the way from Ireland. That's awesome. And I thought I remember seeing you here before. You said that you've been coming here for over a year, even before becoming a Mason. And I thought I had seen you here before. It's been a minute, but I'm very glad you're here. But to everyone out there, the inner circle members that are here, they're all part of all of our paid prescription guys, paid subscription guys, not just the subscribed, but the supporters financially, the financial supporters of Masonic Improvement. And that's an opportunity. If you click on that join button, that first level even gets you an opportunity to be on this panel. It's a monthly subscriber thing. With that being said, Zach, I am glad that you came on, because Zach is one of the a member of one of the most prominent lodges in North Texas, and one of the most active and one of the most consistent on making new Masons, and more especially making new Master Masons. And I think that he probably has some pretty good insight on what works and why their lodge is successful with their digital footprint.
A lot to say in that. All right. Recently, I'll be honest, we've been successful recently because we've got a couple of young guys that know how to do all this stuff. They make amazing videos and clips, and they're sharing them on multiple platforms, and they use AI, and it's beautiful stuff. And I mean, I'll just be straight with you. I didn't know how to do it, but sometimes, you get these young Masons in, and they can get you on multiple, they got Instagram, they got Snapchat, they got Reels, they got all kinds of stuff. If you're an active lodge, just sharing everything you do, no matter what your level of activity, honestly, out there for the public to see. Just see a bunch of guys having fun, see a bunch of people in the parade, see the 4th of July picnic goings on, all kinds of stuff like that. They did a Q&A series with little reels that was pretty well done, I thought. They, there's a lot of stuff like that, because nowadays, anyone who joins is going to have Googled it, right? No one joins Masonry without probably having spent hours in front of the web, surfing and getting some kind of an idea about it. They might not have that much info on your lodge, but they can get info on your lodge just by contacting you. That totally separate issue. We set up on the Grand Lodge of Texas page an inquiry form such that anyone out there can send us contact info, and we'll pass that through to the secretaries of the nearest lodges to them to contact. And recently got some stuff from beafreemason.com. So I'm going to start getting their data, and I need to work out an AI or something to automate that process, but we'll get that data through to the secretaries as well. So it's like 100 or so a month through Grand Lodge Texas page, another 100 or so through beafreemason.org. That's statewide. But I mean, that's 1,400 inquiries a year, some portion of which are good candidates. And one thing about this, when you get all these inquiries through the web, you've really got to examine them well. We require, whenever someone fills out a petition, one of the questions it asks on the references is, how long have you known them? There's a reason for that. When you got people who just show up to the meeting on day one, they're handed a petition, they come in, you find out a whole bunch of stuff about them later that you wish you'd known beforehand. So the more successful lodges on retention and actually raise rate have the candidates that come in, by the time that they actually receive the EA degree, they know what Masonry really is, not just having spent 30 minutes in a room before a meeting chatting with some guys, but you've known them for a while, they know you, they know what the basic idea is at least, They know what they're getting into. Their retention is better. So anytime we get web inquiries or, we share this stuff on social media and you get stuff in, you're going to get a lot of interest that you really got to filter through and communicate and talk with those guys. On that, I could just go on for a while on this. We've got a number of lodges I'm finding out with bad email addresses or no email addresses. A number of lodges that don't have web pages, a bunch of lodges that don't have web pages in today's world. Set up something, but I don't know, it might be better not to have it than to have it created in 1986 and be the same thing you've had since then. I'll let y'all decide on that.
Amen. That's funny. That's funny.
But when I send these through, so someone from, say, San Antonio sends in an inquiry, it gets bounced to the nearest 3 to 5 lodges to them. And that has their, the lodge contact, the public contact info for the lodge and the lodge website. And if your lodge doesn't have a website, Mr. Smith is going to get a list of 5 lodges, maybe 4 of which have a website and 1 doesn't. It looks bad. So get one just to have one, if nothing else. And you can put up super basic info on that. It wouldn't be too hard. One thing I think that we kind of ought to do as a state is just have a default for every lodge, a little website. I think we can set that up pretty easy at fairly low cost. That's a different topic. Where were we going on this? Digital footprint. Yeah, share everything you do. Obviously you can't take any pictures of an EA degree, right? You're not sharing that.
Right.
But there is plenty of stuff that we do in the community. Lots of stuff. And same with every lodge. Just having barbecue before family day, the cookout overnight. Just everything that you do, share it up there. People see that you're doing stuff. It looks fun. They join in.
I agree. Especially in a world that doesn't seem to care about good, wholesome experiences. I think that when people see people of good moral character doing good things in the world, the right kind of people want to come on board.
And I would just build that up even more, Dennis, right? Like the point is not to be secret, right? And I think so much of our fraternity has gotten this stigma in a lot of areas because they think we're secretive. And we no longer have the phone book to go look at or this, that, or that, or the other. And I was talking with a guy in OLT in San Antonio, Officer Relation Training. They're like, we don't need a website. Like,
Hold on.
yes,
hold
you
on
do.
hold on just a second, Daniel. Zach, can you mute for a minute? I think I'm getting some back feed on it. Go ahead, Daniel.
And they were just wondering, like, do we even need a website?
Yeah,
Do we even
were getting a little
need?
bit of back feed. Sorry.
Do we even need a Facebook page? It's like, yes, you do, because nobody has a phone book anymore. Nobody has a way to reach you and contact you if you don't have at minimum, a very basic website page that says, this is where we are at. Here's our location. Here's an email or phone number to contact us. That is what the yellow pages of today is, right? Like at minimum, you need something that is your digital front door, something that says, here's our welcome mat, come and talk to us. Because not everybody's on Facebook. So yes, have the Facebook page, and yes, take pictures and do all the good stuff. But at minimum, get the most basic webpage of lodge, number, city, name, area. Here's a picture of our lodge. Here's an email to go, and make sure that email is getting checked at least once a week. Please, every day. Please, if somebody reaches out to you, reach out within 24 hours. Please. But don't let them go months and months unresponded, because all they're doing is then going, oh, these guys don't want anything. Right? So off my soapbox.
Well, I would like to add to that real quick that, you know, and Zach can verify that the one of the most busy lodges as far as collecting um, new inquiries would be Hillcrest Lodge in Dallas. Hillcrest, you cannot see, it is hard to find Hillcrest. They don't advertise their building, they don't advertise their street, they don't advertise anything like that. The only contact for Hillcrest Lodge is an email address. However, they have three people, not one, three people that are on the list to or that receive that email when it comes in, and there's a timer of like 30 minutes to respond to whoever makes an inquiry about Freemasonry in Dallas. And they've just about got the market cornered because the website is dallasfreemasonry.com. I've stolen that idea with several of the lodges that I've put together for my various districts, and just use the city freemasonry.com. And then when people look up Freemasonry in this city, then it's the first one that pops up from the very get-go. And so there, no matter where you are in Dallas, sorry to say this, Daniel, but wherever you are in Dallas, the very first listing you're going to see is Hillcrest. And they're going to, if somebody sends them an email, they're going to respond within about 30 minutes.
I know. I'm working on the east side of Dallas and the east side of the Metroplex. I'm leaving the main side. The
You
main
need to
side
just throw
alone.
up some signs that say east side.
Don't get me in trouble now, Dennis. This is permanent record over here stuff.
Yes. So I did want to mention that Sanctuary of Truth from Ireland, he was asking if any lodge can or if any Mason visiting any lodge can do so, or do they have to be a Master Mason? So in the state of Texas, we recognize or we allow our lodges to open in an entered apprentice Mason's lodge. We don't just open in a Master's lodge. So we will open for stated meeting in an entered apprentice Mason's lodge if there's any present. We typically will open in a Master's unless there's a fellowcraft or an apprentice that's present, and then we'll open in that degree. So in Texas, it's that way, but other grand jurisdictions are different. It really just depends on grand jurisdiction to grand jurisdiction. The best thing to do is ask your Grand Lodge to reach out to the fraternal relations for the grand jurisdiction that you're planning to go to, and they can tell you everything you need to know. And then they can also verify you before you head out so that you don't get turned away if they would normally do it, but they just don't know who you are. Because especially like in Ireland and the UK, y'all, I don't think y'all have dues cards like us. The UK doesn't, but I think Ireland and Scotland are the same way, that y'all don't have dues cards like we have. So it's hard to verify based off of a dues card and a stamp. Um, it really needs to be verified. So just to let you know, that's kind of some information that I know about that topic. Since you were asking, I'd like to stay engaged. Lee H with Hill Country said Kyle Walquist is part of Chris's OLT. He absolutely is. Kyle's a dear friend of mine, and we have drinks just about every time we see each other, or are in the same city together. And he actually helped create that system with Hillcrest, of attracting, or not necessarily attracting, but just being the funnel for people that are interested in joining Freemasonry in Dallas. Kyle is a very well known figure in his field of marketing, digital marketing, and and he definitely has done a great job with Hillcrest. Very good friend of mine. Anybody else got anything?
If you ever get a chance to watch Kyle speak, he gives some really good info on how to push the algorithm to get
Yes.
your launch
Yes.
mentioned first, and he knows a lot about that stuff. So if you get a chance to see him speak, he's got a very informative talk or two or three or five.
Hey,
And
once you get him started, it's hard to get Kyle to shut up. He's a lot like me.
well, and didn't he address the Grand Lodge a couple of years ago?
He did. Yeah.
He's addressed the Grand Lodge many times.
He was membership chair in 22.
Yeah, that was exactly the talk I was thinking of, because he was talking about how the Mason of tomorrow is not going to be resembling the Mason that is prevalent today. You know, it's not going to be an older Anglo fella. He's going to be a younger man, somebody who is tech savvy, and somebody who is, you know, wanting to be involved and learning to be a good man. Yeah, so it was really neat talk.
It was. I wish more people, those are the, I think you can go back and read it in the proceedings, but I mean, that talk that he gave at Grand Lodge from the membership committee was a great talk. So, we need to circulate some of this stuff a little bit better, not just give it once. And,
right.
Those who are there hear it, and that's it, because it's too good.
We have a bit of a subject material expert here on our inner circle as well. Brother Daniel Dutton works in the same industry, not in the same facet as Kyle, but he is definitely in the industry and has taught me a lot on how to push those algorithms as well. But I want to make another note that officer leadership training for Texas is now got an online version, and I am signed up for it. So I can't wait to see how it pans out. It was wonderful to serve. It's always been a lot better to just sit and listen and learn from the other guys. And so I encourage all of you, even it doesn't matter. And I said, I mentioned the serving not to be self-serving, but because I want all of you guys to realize that I have gone to so many OLTs. And then I served on the committee for a short time and presented those OLTs. And now I'm going back to the OLTs because there's still more information to learn to help our lodges. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that you can never have enough. And at the cost point, at the price point that they created for this online program, you need to get on Grandview, sign up, don't be a fool, and listen to these people that are more intelligent than you or me.
And just to put this out there as well, the that training is in
August.
4 weeks.
Yep.
August 15th and 16th, 14th, 15th, and 16th is what I have in my calendar, but I think it's actually just the
It is
14th and 15th, or
14th and 15th.
15th and 16th. Yeah.
It's the 14th and 15th. I'll be doing the 201. I'm going to go back and do the 101 after I do the 201, but for me, the 201's more prevalent to where I am in today's Freemasonry. But I do want to go back to the 101 because I want to see what's new in that as well. I'm sure.
Well, and I'm going to do the 101 because I haven't done any of them yet.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You got
So
to.
I'm really looking forward to it.
You're going to love it.
Going to be good. I'm not sure which one I'm going to take yet, but our outgoing worshipful master, he's actually our secretary now as of Saturday, had reached out to the education committee, and I talked to them, and they approved it. We're going to open up our lodge and connect a laptop to the TV in our day room and another one to the lodge room, and host a regional gathering of brothers to come and sit and pay attention and work together on 101 and 201.
Nice. Nice. That's the future. You know, and what's really cool is that talk about digital footprint. I mean, that's part of it. And you know, in New Mexico, the lodges are so far apart that they have TVs in the lodges, in the lodge rooms, so that you know guest speakers can go on Zoom and present uh, papers to the people of the lodges, so that they can get more opportunities for education in their lodges during their meetings. You know, I totally agree with that, and I think that I think that Texas could definitely be well served by by that same attitude. You know, no, we don't want to have it on everything, you know, in you know all the time or whatever, or we don't want to have the TV on with stupid stuff all the time, but you absolutely want to have opportunities for education for the Masons of the lodge, because there simply is not enough of it for our Blue Lodge Masons, in my opinion.
So it started at our lodge with when we redid the paint and the texture on the walls, and then repositioning where some of the pictures and stuff were. We had a big blank wall, and it was above where we serve our buffet. So somebody donated a couple of TVs that they had. We hung one up over there, and I hooked up a small mini PC to it and cycled some slideshows, pictures for certain events, installations, past masters dinners, official visit, just anything, anytime we could put something up there. Honesty and Integrity Lamar Award night, just putting some information up there, short little clips and videos to have something on that wall that we can change. I'm looking now for a decent low cost calendar app that we can use that as our bulletin board, whiteboard, whatever you want to do, thing to be able to hang that up there on that TV in our day room or a dining area.
Nice. I mean, you could always just set a Gmail for the lodge calendar and go to it, and then assign whoever the busybody is of your lodge, and you know, assign them the admin capabilities of that calendar, and then anytime they add anything to their calendar, it automatically populates in the, and I say busybody not in a negative way, but the guy that's always going to everything, or at least wants to know where everything is. You know, have that guy, anytime he puts it in his calendar, it just automatically pops up through Google for the lodge, so it's always up to date. I do that on several of my websites. I have the Google Calendar on the front, on the splash page, just simply as a resource to anybody that comes on there. They know what's going on in the area.
Yeah, I mean, you say a sign like it's going to be somebody else, but if just
It's
like
gonna be
any good
you.
organization, yeah, if you got a good idea, guess what? Take it and run with it.
Yep,
That's the way it
yep.
works. But no, it's it, we're slow going. There's only so many inches on the gauge, but it's something that we're doing constant improvement on with something like
Yes, absolutely. I see on here Greek of Gadsby. Um, Now I don't know where you're from. You haven't disposed that information yet, but what grand jurisdiction for sure. But I do know um, of some brothers that are members of the Northern Masonic jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite, and I actually have the pageant book and have studied it extensively. In fact, with Jason Reichenberg, the brother that was on here earlier, that's the chairman of the education committee, back before he was even part of the education committee, we were studying that along with our degrees in the southern jurisdiction, talking about the similarities in the lessons being learned. Um, and yes, one of our members in the southern jurisdiction is also a member of the northern Masonic jurisdiction, and that's how he did his classes, or he did some of them in person, but he did some of them online as well. And I think that's a great option in some scenarios. I really do. I mean, it's definitely a closed circuit kind of a thing, and it's Master Masons only that can join. So um, if they're fully vetted, then I don't see anything wrong with that.
Dennis, I can speak to that a little bit if you want, because I am a member of both Northern and Southern
Well,
jurisdictions. Scott is
I
right.
knew we would pique your interest at some point. Go right ahead, Brad. Glad you're on the show tonight.
I appreciate it. And I missed the beginning portion, and there was a couple things I wanted to jump in there on. But about the Scottish Rite, they do have what they call Thursday night at the Rite, and it's been very successful. There's a few months out of the year where they put on the degrees on Thursday night, and you have to be obviously a Master Mason, and you have to be a Scottish Rite Mason. You can be a Southern jurisdiction Scottish Rite Mason, and watch the degree online. Um, and I've always found that I watched every single one of them. I've been through all the degrees in the North and the South. Um, and I think it's a wonderful thing because I think in general, we are talking about the digital footprint, right? I mean, that's kind of what this is about. Everything that we do online, how that affects our fraternity. Am I right about that? Because I did miss the
Yes.
beginning
Yes.
portion of this. So comparing the Northern Scottish Rite and the Southern, there are differences in every degree. It's completely different, but it's good to see both of them. It's good to be part of both of them. I'm a proud member of both of them. I like the Southern jurisdiction a little better, to be honest. Very much so. But that's not to say the morality, the morals in the Northern jurisdiction degrees are very good. So I would encourage to check it out Thursday night at the Rite.
Yeah, I definitely will because I didn't know that I could have that opportunity, and I would definitely love to actually see the degrees because I've only read about them and studied them, and so I would definitely want to do that for sure.
Yeah, and they're put on too. They've put them on in all the different states put them on. One was in Maine, one was New Jersey, one was New York, one was Illinois. So they even if they put on say the fourth degree in Maine, then they might put the next time they'd be on the fourth degree with a different cast in Illinois or New Jersey or one of the states. Um, so even though they might repeat themselves, it's pretty good, and the acting's pretty good. Well, B class actors, it's as good as it's going to get
Well,
with Masons.
we're all B class, right? But yeah, I mean, I've heard that they're pretty impressive, that they do a very good job.
Yes, they do. Very good job, but it's well worth watching. It's a great thing to see. So I don't know when the next Thursday night at the Rite is coming up, but it usually runs for 6 to 8 weeks in a row. So they'll show 6 to 8 degrees or something like that. Enough to get into that Scottish Rite mindset. There, they skip around a little bit, but they're all very good.
Very
They're
cool.
definitely very good.
Very
And I
cool.
got a few other things. If you're slow for time, I can throw out the other comments that I wanted to make earlier in the show, but it's up to you
Go
if you
ahead.
got something.
Well, I tell you what, let me answer this one question real quick.
Yeah,
Um, the Sanctuary of Truth is really engaged. Now
sure.
he just joined recently, and it takes 2 years to become a Master Mason in Ireland. But he was asking why someone would want to be Scottish Rite and not York Rite, since our area is York Rite based, which um, it's simply more light. It's all about more light, and some of the some of the stories they intertwine, or some of the lessons intertwine, but the presentation of them and the overall understanding of being a Freemason is a little bit different. And I'm definitely both, but I am definitely more Scottish Rite, more of a Scottish Rite Mason than a York Rite Mason. But I love both, and I give talks on both. But I didn't come into um, I didn't I didn't develop into the Freemason I am without being willing to um, look at all the light that was available to me. I'll just put it that way. And but that's a great question, because I'm sure if you're asking, there's probably 100 other people that have been out there that have been thinking it. Go ahead, Brad. What else did you have to say?
Well, the other thing I wanted to bring up was its concept about the digital footprint or when you comment online. And I've got myself caught a couple times, positive and not so positive. Nothing bad, but once I remember I was riding my motorcycle out here in the country in Illinois, and I saw Masonic square and compasses up on the second floor, and I snapped a picture of the lodge. I didn't see any time when they met. It looked the curtain was kind of half open, half closed. It looked like it was an old lodge that just didn't exist anymore. So I'm friends with thousands of Masons on my Facebook page. And so I posted there, I said something along the lines like, we are everywhere. Masons, we're everywhere around the world. Or then I said, well, we were everywhere because this lodge looked close to me.
Yikes.
Yeah, exactly. It maybe not the best. It was something along those lines. And then obviously I get a message from the current world worshipful master. It says that lodge is still open. I'm the worshipful master this year, but I'm welcome anytime. I'm like, man, so again, there's your digital footprint. I made the commenting that the lodge looked closed to me. There was no sign, there was no phone number, there was no website. It's a small town country lodge, and I thought it was closed. So that's just a little anecdotal evidence on the footprint
Yes.
when you put out there digitally. That was not a negative comment, but it was just a comment. And if they would have had a website, or if they would have had a sign on their door, if it looked like it was open, I would never have made the comment. So, but it all turned out well. It all turned out well, but it's just the digital footprint.
Yes.
And I'll give you a quick story about Texas because y'all might have seen it because it was on the Texas website. First, let me preface this. I'm from Arkansas and
Yes, and
Illinois.
I was going to say
So,
the only reason I'm allowing you to say anything about Texas is because you said y'all. If you had said anything else but y'all, then you wouldn't have had any say in anything about Texas.
well, we have common friends, very good common friends,
Yes,
the
we do.
Grand
Yes,
Lodge
we do.
of Arkansas and the Scottish Rite over there. So my something about Texas. And the conversation really had to do with affinity lodges. I'm a big fan or a big promoter of affinity lodges.
Yes.
That's a bunch of men who get together, they have something in common, and that's what they do. And those lodges tend to be very successful. Now, I'm a part of an affinity lodge, and I'll just give you a little background. Last year in Illinois, we had a grand gathering. I don't know who else can do this, but we put together 26 states, 26 states visited Illinois. 16 countries visited Illinois for an entire week. Over 5,000 Masons were together for an entire week. Now, you tell me what other group of Masons can do that except the Widow Sons. We ride motorcycles. It's an affinity lodge. We had over 5,000 people, 26 different states, 16 countries for a week, and we had a blast. Not one incident, not one problem. So as I promote affinity lodges or motorcycles, again, here's Brad with his smart aleck comment. There's a comment about the Widow Sons. The sun never sets on the Widow Sons because we're around the world. And then obviously I said, except Texas. Oh my goodness, did I get hammered for that?
That's
And
funny.
obviously the point is like, why doesn't Texas have, the motors? Why isn't Texas in the motors? And again, I don't want to get into the arguments with the Grand Lodge, but then some of the comments went back and forth. And I try to put a stop to it because I don't really know the person who said it. You might know him. Commenting about the Widow Sons. We don't want one percenters in our fraternity. And I said, I realize you
Oh
didn't
my
mean that about
goodness.
Masonic widows. So again, this is all about our digital footprint, right? This
Yep.
is commentary on the Texas website saying that we're implying we don't want one percenters. And I'm like, I know you didn't mean that about the Mason
Yeah, and
motorcycle
that's
rider.
exactly what you don't want online.
Exactly. And
And
my
hopefully,
commentary back
hopefully
was,
that was in one of those semi-private groups and not in public because
yeah,
that's that stuff we do not want the public hearing because that's just ignorance. That's just plain ignorance.
well, that's the point. And then the commentary went on further about, we do business or we talk to the banditos.
Oh my goodness.
And again, I know a lot about this. I happen to know a lot about this, and I understand kind of a gist of what he's saying. But it's like, again, this is not the appropriate spot to put it on. If you want more, because I'm a widow son, obviously. If you want more information, message me. You don't have to put that stuff out there.
Yeah.
I was a little upset about that
Well, there's
because the
trolls
Mason
everywhere you
widow
go.
sons are not. We are not the one percenters. They're
Right.
good men who ride motorcycles. And my commentary back was like, some of the widow sons, they're the finest masons and men I know.
I agree,
So,
and that's around the world.
yeah,
That's
and we both know Arkansas, the Grand Lodge over there. They're the best. They are the best men I know,
yeah,
and they are widow sons,
yes,
and supported by the Grand Lodge of all the past Grand Poobahs of Arkansas. So widow sons
right,
are awesome.
right. And I think that that's in most grand jurisdictions that they're in. I mean, they're very well supported.
And like I said, who else can put 26 states, 16 countries, over 5,000 Masons, 5,000 Masons together for an entire week, not have one incident of problem, have a great time every single time. That's a great affinity lodge. So any state that's doing without the widow sons, man, they need to rethink what they're doing. They're missing a lot of good men, and maybe they would not get in right away because of the way they look or the way they dress or they drive a loud motorcycle. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know. I just
Well,
find it weird.
well, now that's kind of how a lot of Masons are with the digital footprint as well. I mean, they're afraid it's something they don't understand. They already have a preconceived notion of it, and so they're not going to do it, and or they're not going to allow it to be done. Like that happens in lodges. That there's some lodges that they can't get anything done because you got a few people that are against certain things from happening, and sad to say, those guys will be left in the dust one of these days, and we certainly don't wish that upon anybody, but that's the fate that comes to people that refuse to try to have any formal vision in in or purpose with what they're doing. I wanted to
And
comment.
Dennis, man, let me ask
Go
you one
ahead.
last one. This is the
Go
last
ahead.
one I have. And you can give me some good advice because you might be the right person to ask this question to. I'm preparing a talk,
Uh-huh.
for Bradley and Chris.
Yeah.
So I worry about what I'm going to say. Meaning, I worry about that. I don't want to say anything because it's a little on the esoteric side. It's a little bit, some words. Whether I should use them, I shouldn't use them. I think I can. I got no problem. We've talked about them before. I have no problem talking openly about them, but it could ruffle the feathers of some other people. And I'm going to be very kind and very cautious with my tone, my words, and try to make it all right. But then I was wondering, should I even do it? Should I even put this out there in a digital format that's going to be on the shorts, and the world could see it? And then am I going to look back and go, man, I shouldn't have said that, or I shouldn't have said it that way? So right now, I have my topic, I have all the information. I'm just trying to figure out. So then I was going to say, Dennis, do you happen to know who's the editor? Because I think it's Jason, right?
It is.
Like
Yes.
one of my brothers need to cut some stuff out if they have to make a brother look
Oh,
good
don't worry,
in
they
case I
can.
say something wrong.
What's funny is that the talk that they actually wanted me to give was originally 20 minutes long, and Jason cut that sucker down to 10 minutes. I didn't even know how he got anything said in that 10 minutes because I go around to do
Right.
anything in a presentation, and I just didn't know how he was going to do it. And then once I saw the final product, it's like, oh yeah, he was keeping me out of trouble. That's for sure.
I was trying to get to him before he checked out because I wanted to poke at him a little bit, but I figured that Dennis is the right person to ask how to work around
Well,
this.
yes, and then we had the other episode on the book that I wanted to cover. What golly, which one was it? It was uh it was one of Mackey's books. Anyways, and I warned him. I warned him. And Brad, when he saw the book, he was like, 300 freaking pages. What are you talking about? How are we going to discuss this? 2.5 hours later, I got the record on the longest discussion on that show. But so all of you that are curious by now, the show is the Masonic Shelf podcast, and it's two of my my number one and number two mentors in my life, Bradley Kohanke and Chris Williams, and then Jason, one of my most dear friends, and trusted brothers in the world, Jason Reichenberg, who is on the Inner Circle. He is the editor in chief of that show. And so they asked me to come on, and needless to say, in Dennis Yates fashion, I just drew it all out. And it was a great conversation. We had a great time, but Jason had a tough time editing me. If he can edit me, you'll be all right, I'm certain.
Well, I'm just doing one of the shorts, so it won't be that long. But I trust, I love Jason. Hopefully, he's going to look out for me and make
Yes, he
sure
will.
I
He
don't
will
say
for
anything
sure.
that's going to get me expelled or excommunicated.
Right. He'll take care of you. He'll take care of you. Yeah, that's the one
And
thing that they don't want to do is bring any unwanted attention onto their show for sure. I've drawn back on this show. There's times when we've had some pretty serious conversations that got some grands pretty upset on this show, and I have really toned it back, um, because there are
was it
some.
something I was speaking on?
No, but
Was
it,
it
it was
something
it
for
was
me?
definitely
Okay.
all me, believe me, and and it's still out there somewhere. That digital footprint's still out there, but it definitely made me realize that you can have the biggest voice in the world, but at a certain point, people will stop listening. And so I toned it back quite a bit in my own personal journey on this show, so that we don't lose I know it's not really patronage, but we don't lose the conversation with people that
That's right.
I may disagree with, because it's always a conversation with me. Um, I don't hold ill will towards anybody. The people I was upset with at the time, I do not hold ill will with them now. But I'm very serious about my beliefs at different points, and I'm a pretty open minded guy. But there comes a time when I can only go so far back, and before I get too far away from that line that I've drawn, and I have to stand my ground. But anyways, long story short, I've even started cutting back on some of the things I say, because it was killing Justin as well during our shows. Is he Back when we first started, boy, he was having to edit so much from our shows. We couldn't even think about doing a live. There's just no way that we were going to do a live with the way that I was talking when we first started. But we live and learn, right? We all have an opportunity to grow in life.
Well, let me make one last comment and then I'll stop after this because it is for future references. And this I think is for advice for everybody. I've always spoken my truth, and I have nothing to hide. Absolutely nothing to hide. But what I do regret a little bit was mentioning someone else's name that's not right there with me. And all positive. I mean, I mentioned some very prominent, big, important names in complimentary form, by the way. But
Right.
I also think it's wrong that I mention other people's names. Period. So my next talk that I'm going to give, I am really going to just try to either put out the title or put out the concept of it and not mention a person by name,
Yeah.
even if it's positive. I'm just going to
Right.
try to avoid that.
Well, there's a lot of discussion we can have without throwing names out. Um, if you mention, let's say, the book, Morals and Dogma, who everybody knows who you're talking about. If
No,
if
but I can say like if I read chapter 13 in Morals and Dogma and it says this, and well, Dennis Yates said I was correct. I got to be cautious with saying Dennis Yates said I was correct when
right,
you're not
right,
either
right,
there to into the conversation at that moment.
right, right, right.
Um, that's what I was kind of implying. Or I
Yes.
know Dennis, and Dennis knows what I'm talking about is right. We both know the same person over there at the Grand Lodge in Arkansas, and then I mentioned his name. I gotta like maybe just try not to do that. It's one thing
Yes.
we can say here, oh hey Byron, hey Jacob, that's fine. But I'm talking about in particulars like that. Dennis thinks I'm right, or Byron and I agree on this, that, and the other thing. I
Right.
shouldn't say that.
Right. And you're probably right. I should probably, I don't know if I do that or not, but I think all of us should be mindful of stuff like that, because that is that is something that really puts people in an awkward situation. It can
Right.
put somebody in an awkward situation, no matter how good the intent is, and that's
Right.
and I think that's a good place to really start wrapping up this conversation is intent. The intent is not always what's perceived. You know, we all have our good intentions, right? I mean, even with this show, there's there's brothers on here that have asked about, you know, how can you even, you know, mention certain things about lodges or tell. By the way, glad you're here, Invisible Nobody. It's been a minute. Glad you made it. Um, there was somebody asking, you know, you how could how are you allowed to mention an office that you're in? We're not even allowed to do that. And you know, that's they're they're probably in a jurisdiction that's very conservative because um, of the implications. No matter how good the intent, um, public perception isn't always what we think it's going to be. And it and so I mean, you guys probably saw it earlier tonight when we had you can't see me doing the quotes, the Illuminati guy on, and some other guy jumped on for about 2 minutes, and then poof, they were magically gone. Thank you, Daniel Dutton. I appreciate you, seriously. Um, I hope they don't come to haunt you now. But we had, you know, those people on here trying to troll our show. No matter how good our intent is with what we're doing on this show, we're still going to have people that are going to try to um, create. We're going to have the trolls that try to create a negative out of our positive. Some
Well,
people
how
just
about
don't.
this? Can I ask a question? Because it's still a question I have.
Sure.
What are the secrets in Freemasonry? I mean, I've been told different stories. We can't talk about this. We can't talk about that. If it's in the book, we can talk about it. If it's not in, so the grips, the secret words, okay, that you can't talk about, right?
Right.
But what about what's in chapters in Morals and Dogma? Can I mention what's in the 13th chapter in Morals and Dogma? Can I bring up what's in the 14th chapter?
I
And can I
think
talk
that's
about those words?
I think that's a jurisdictional kind of a thing. Some jurisdictions will take offense to it, and some of them won't. You know,
Right.
I was actually driving down the road. I was listening to the end of Esoterica today, in the appendix part of it, and you know, there's some stuff in there that Pike probably shouldn't have written. But then again, you have to keep in mind that book was never intended to be read by the general public. It was you know, pretty private. But there's stuff
That's
in
what
there.
Dennis Yates told me. That's what Dennis Yates told me.
But
And I think Byron will agree. He heard him say that.
yes,
I'm teasing because you're all here
Dennis,
to defend yourself.
I know, but that's fair.
No, 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 no. We're not all here to defend Dennis. Every now and again, it's fun to throw him under the bus.
And it's very fair and
Just
well
every now and again.
deserved. Very fair and well deserved, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, there are some stuff just depending on the jurisdiction. So depending on what your goals are in Freemasonry, um, and where you are, I mean, if we're pretty fortunate that um, we have some pretty open-minded individuals here in Texas, and we're able to even have shows like this. There's some jurisdictions that you're not allowed to have an internet presence like this, not any kind of a show like this, um, about Freemasonry. But we're pretty fortunate that we're allowed to do this, and in that same breath, I will say that I realize how fortunate we are now after speaking with people around the world on the topic. And I mean, we saw it tonight with one of our brothers that's here from Ireland. I mean, it's different in different grand jurisdictions, And I try to be respectful of those jurisdictions because I really don't want to um, create a dark cloud over Masonic improvement, because we're ultimately just here talking about different topics to try to help each other in our journey. And whether that's
And also for future reference too, I did not know this when I joined. I thought this inner circle was Master Masons only. I think my first 5 episodes, I spoke out about a few things, thinking that I'm talking to Master Masons. It wasn't until my 6th or 7th, 8th week into it, I heard there's not Master Masons listening. I'm like, I did not know that. I did not know that.
I'm sorry. I thought everybody was aware. So this show is that's why I always open with hello friends and brothers, because it's friends of Freemasonry and brothers. And because we get a lot of people that are interested. I have one video that has 49,000 views. I need to look and see where it's at right now. But right now it has 49,000 views on how to on people looking on how to become a Mason. And so that's part of what this journey is about, is giving people not a deep dive into it, but a little bit of a nibble onto what Freemasonry is, to see if it's something that really interests them. See if the men of character, we are the men of character that we claim to be. And I think all the people on this inner circle is definitely that way. Haven't had anybody join the inner circle yet that that is of bad character. I haven't. Even the people that were just friends, and we do have people on the show that are inner circle members, and there's some that we're even on tonight. Um, we do have people on the show that are inner circle members that are not Master Masons. We even have females that listen to the show and watch the show, and I say good on them. I don't think that we corner the market as far as you know being intelligent enough to understand higher learning principles. So so anybody that wants to watch, I welcome them to watch. But yeah, you're right. I think I ought to have a disclaimer anytime somebody joins the inner circle. Hey, this is friends and brothers, not just brothers and not just Master Masons, because we don't want to the give it away by accident.
And even friends, Dennis. I mean, there's a lot of people I've never met. I can't. I don't know. I can call them a brother for sure. They're a Mason, but I don't know them. It's like signing a petition for somebody. I don't know them. So when you say friends, I think you're talking to Daniel or somebody that that you've been out to dinner with. He's your friend and brother.
Oh, okay. Well, for this show's purposes, um, our friends are like-minded individuals that enjoy the show. If they think the same way I do and they're engaged, they're a friend of mine, because I don't care. And now I'm not saying they're a dear friend. I appreciate everyone that comes on, but I only have just a few dear friends. But 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 unless somebody gives me a reason to, I'm not a standoff guy. I'm not.
And really, we're just discussing this because it's for the future concept of the digital footprint. Like, be careful what we're saying because
Oh,
you know
absolutely, absolutely.
it's not
Um,
just Master Masons. There are people out there that are not Master Masons.
right. Well,
What
we
as a
had.
whole too, as a whole too, the stuff that we're talking about is not just Freemasonry, right? It's the generic truths that we talk about when we get into our esoteric stuff. It's good things on how to manage an organization, be it a Masonic lodge, a Little League committee, the American
Absolutely.
Legion, the Moose Lodge, the school board, PTO, whatever. Um,
Yeah,
these
just
are
don't
just
say the
basic
Rotary, because
good
they beat
principles.
us every day, hands down. Just kidding. Sorry, had to say that.
Yeah, but I mean, even if they're not Freemasons, it's good information to have, and I've been able to apply both what I've learned in Freemasonry and some of the things that we talk about on here, connected towards administration, to my everyday life and usual vocation as well.
Nice.
Well, yeah. I guess I got to, and I'm agreeing with everything you said. However, say some of the topics we talk about, I want to try to bring an example up. The person who got burned at the stake way back when, the Knights Templar guy. You know who I'm talking
Jacques
about?
Molay. Yeah,
I
Jacques
know,
Molay.
of course, I know this, right?
Yeah.
So those Templars, are they the Templars that we have at our Scottish Rite?
Oh,
The answer should be no, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then we have a door in the Scottish Rite, and I don't even have to mention the next door neighbor to you there. It's got his name on the door. It's kind of bizarre that we got a door with that name on it, and it doesn't have anything to do with Freemasonry. You see what I'm saying? There's stuff that, do you talk about that? Do you don't talk about that? Do you question it? You go, why is that name on the door when it has nothing to do with Freemasonry? Or does it? You know, these are topics that they're confusing. Is that a
Sure.
secret? Is it not a secret? Is Jacques de Molay on a door in a Scottish Rite temple? Is it a secret? Is he really? Are we related to them? Nope, nope. There's no history. There's no historical fact. Okay, then why is the name on the door?
Or can we look at maybe some of the principles he lived throughout his life and say that those are solid
There you
principles that we may need to look at and attempt to emulate?
I love it
Bingo.
because that.
We just finished here in Texas our state DMLA conflict. DMLA is the youth organization. I literally just got home from this today. I wish we'd have got to this point before Jeff left. I got to spend about a week with Jeff's son. He was our state master counselor, the lead boy over our state organization, and
Is that our daughter
he just
singing?
concluded his term with our annual conclave, and I was there with my son and the different
I
boys
don't
from our
care. They
chapter,
can't hear,
and it was a great
but I
program.
hear.
Um,
I hear
we got
somebody.
to see the emulation of the degree, where the youth put on a play that act out the final trials and execution of Jacques de Molay, and they attempt to espouse no connection with him and the Knights Templar beyond the principles of which are demonstrated in that play of uh, doing the right thing, letting your yes be yes, letting your no be no, and holding value towards brotherhood. And it goes into many more things, not to try to give any of their secrets away, but that's the basis of it, is doing the right thing and being a good brother. um, and I think that might be part of where that comes from. But can we use, much like fables and allegories, can we use an actual historical figure's life to show these are some of the good things he did and emulate some of that? They're no different than the way Masonic lodges are dedicated to the Holy Saints John.
Tend to agree.
I'm in
And
complete agreement. I have no argument, but it does get confusing. And as we talk about this
especially if
with
somebody's on the
non-master
outside looking
Masons
in. Yeah.
listening,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I get concerned. If I was just talking to a true brother that I've sat in lodge with, I got no problem speaking openly, questioning things, or making statements or my observations. Because believe me, I have observations that are people might question it, or they might say you're wrong. But then I point to my facts. No, look at this. Look, it's in our degree work. This is in our degree work. You can't tell me I'm not talking about what I'm talking about. It's in our degree work. But again, I won't talk about this when there's non-master Masons listening.
Right. Well, there's the. I think that just like with Jacques Desmoulins, um, I think we have to consider the Templars just like we would consider all the other ancient mystery schools that, Freemasonry did not begin with them, or that's not our, we don't have an origin story from them. We don't have an origin story from Enoch. We don't have an origin story from all these different um, stories of symbolism that we go through. We what we do have is, like Jacob had said, and I know this isn't for you, Brad. This is for everybody else out there. We do have um, the the ideals that the truths, the profound truths of the divine were just as present then as they are now, and this is a way of being able to explain those truths in a way that makes it easier to learn, a process of learning and understanding. And that's the big secret, is that that's what we're doing, is we're trying to understand these divine truths as we go along. um, and of course that's not the only big secret, but that's one of the big secrets, is that that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to study this allegory in order to have a better understanding of ourselves, the divine, and ourselves within and without the divine. And
But some of our allegory
that
directly
can be very
points to
controversial.
something.
It does,
Yeah,
and that's
well,
where it's difficult, because we have to always remember that it's a storyline, not necessarily a historical line.
it's easy to build that bridge, though. It's easy to build that bridge,
Sometimes it
especially when it's
is.
in our degree work.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. But we can't say for fact it is if we don't have the documentation to prove it. Sometimes we do have some documents, sometimes we do not. But those are the real secrets of Freemasonry, and I'm signing off. I'm signing off on that. No, I'm just creating some backstory here, so, or something to give people to chew on for the next week until they get to see us again. Which, by the way, I'm going to mention again to all you guys that jumped on the chat tonight. You guys are regulars. A lot of you guys are regulars here, and we're going to have an all-in live um, next week, to where I'm going to post the link on the Masonic Improvement Facebook page. It's the one with this symbol, this logo on the Facebook page. That's where I'm going to post the link to this Zoom, so that you can be on this panel with us, with our inner circle members, and we can say hello to you face to face and hear about where you're from. We won't be able to go into deep detail with everybody on where they're from. Well, hopefully we won't be able to, because we'll be so overwhelmed with people, coming to break the internet with us. But um, but if we aren't, that's okay. Then we can we'll have a topic to talk about. If we are able to break the internet, then we'll just get to say hi and get to know you, and say glad you're here. I'm just excited to see some of your faces as we go along, because I see so many of you in the chat. I can't respond with the program that I use. I'm just not talented enough. But I do watch throughout the whole show of who is online with us, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of you guys and gals. I know you're there, so you make sure and come too. I'm really looking forward to seeing y'all next week, and it does start 8 p.m. Thank you, Lee, for pointing that out to everybody. It does start at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I typically will post the link typically in the afternoon sometime, but like tonight it was like 10 minutes before. So so if you don't see it, just keep coming back. You'll eventually get to it. It'll be there, unless you see a post from me that says, "Man, I'm stuck working. I can't get away." But that very rarely happens. In fact, I was the old steady for Justin for years. I was the one that kept the show pushing along when he was ready to just give up. So
I was just about to add, it's 8 p.m. unless Dennis is working late.
Yes, unless I get a call out, then it's on like Donkey Kong. I just showed my age, right? Speaking of the first internet and all that, I remember when Donkey Kong wasn't on the internet. So with that being said, it is 10 o'clock, guys. We've already been at it for 2 hours. We've lost a third of our inner circle members now. They're all tired and ready to go to bed. And so let's start final thoughts. Brad, you're on my top left tonight. So let's hear your final thoughts tonight.
Well, yeah, final thought. I appreciate it. Final thoughts is I think it's great conversation, great topic, meaning to recognize our digital footprint, what we say, how it's out there. It's probably never going to go away. It'll always pop up at some point. To be conscious of this, to be conscious in general is a wonderful thing to know that you're
Yes.
conscious. But to be conscious of this is important. And, I still struggle with what I should say, what I shouldn't say. I mean, clearly I stick to not divulging the grips, the words, stuff like that. But topic wise, I'm preparing this talk. I still question whether I should put it out there or not, which led me into another thought. You're going to do this thing for the new people coming in to introduce themselves. We have the book talk where that's closed, sort of. But maybe you should have a call meeting one day where just your good friends can have open conversation on revelations that we had going down rabbit holes that we can talk about, meaning it's my experience. This is my communication to my brothers, a revelation that took place for me that I don't know if I should open to the public. But again, it would have to be a pretty closed door setting for that to happen. But so yeah, I don't know to close this out. I just think it was a great topic. Dennis, you always have great topics, and I think you said it last week that even when we just throw out something, we all come up with some good stuff to talk about. So
Yeah,
it all works out in the end. And
this
I
is a pretty
love each and
solid
every
group.
one of you.
Yes, we love you right back. This is a pretty solid group on being able to keep a conversation going. Mike O, I'm glad you made it. I'm not here for your final thought yet, but do you have any thoughts? Have you been listening in tonight, or you just getting in?
I was listening on YouTube a little bit.
Oh, okay, okay. Do you have any thoughts before we get to your final thought?
I could probably just mix my final thoughts and my other thoughts together into one thought.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just useful to remember that the way that the reputations are associational, so that um, it does give extra pause in terms of thinking things through and how you're going to express them once you get involved in a larger group that does have a footprint. And for me, that's one of the benefits, being able to have that extra reminder, because little stuff makes a big difference. Like today I put my computer in a new area where I have like a light that's pointed out the wall, and then I'm like, oh, that reflects pretty good on me, because before I was kind of in the shadows.
Yes,
And
I
that,
can see you much
that's just
better.
that's just a small example, but that's the kind of thing that every little thing, like for an artist or a craftsman, it all adds up to something. Even something that seems small, it can add up to a lot. And so it's that those kind of things around the edges that seem small but can add up to a lot. I think it relates to what Daniel was saying earlier about responding to emails quickly. It seems like a small thing, but if a lot of guys do it, it's like, oh, we're on top of our communication with the outside world. And it actually is a huge thing. If people are responding within a half an hour, like you mentioned, um, stuff that doesn't seem like it makes a big difference can make a big difference. It might just seem like it's another day. You're logging on, you're saying something. So for me, it's a great reminder, and that's the kind of learning experience. Making I can't say I was a good man before, but I can definitely say I'm getting better now.
Yes, nice, very nice. Yeah, and it's all the little things. We don't always understand them right away, but these lessons, they help us along the way, and it keeps chipping away at us, and one day we'll be ready. we'll be fit for the builder's use, right? We'll be ready to go. Jacob, what you got? You know, I was watching a video
As
before you start
always, I
talking.
appreciate.
Before you start talking, I was
Yeah,
watching a video with Tommy on the other day, or maybe it was today that I saw the video online, and I thought, oh, I know where they're at, and I know where Jacob's at, and I know where Jeff's at, I know where Mason's at.
I felt super bad, and I'm sure Jeff had some other stuff going on, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it over this time.
Ah,
But Mason was there, and Mason's mom was there to support him, and it was man, it was a great deal. Um, I did have to miss a little bit of it. I snuck away Saturday. Unfortunately, we had a brother lay down his tools
mm,
Tuesday this past week, and we got to perform a funeral service for him on Saturday. And then we that was immediately flowed from that. After that funeral, we did our installation on Saturday, and just one and then the other, and then right back over to be able to watch the degree exemplification for those boys. Uh, just a magnificent weekend, a lot of camaraderie. Um, for those of y'all that don't know, out in the internet world, DMLA is a Masonic youth organization for young men aged 12 to 21, and they've got 7 cardinal virtues that they teach the boys, or young men rather, and they prepare them to be good, upstanding citizens in the world. Right? We're not preparing boys to be Freemasons. It's not a Freemason factory. It's something that we do to improve the community and the Masonic youth family, which different jurisdictions have different organizations. Here in Texas, we have Rainbow Girls for the ladies, and the MLA for the young men. And it's like I said, it's a great organization. I've got kids in both of them, and we had our state conclave, which was just awesome. I We were over there, and it was so unique because until this year, it's been in Fort Worth every year that I've been involved in this, and this year they started moving it around. And I'm from the tiny little corner of southeast Texas, east of Beaumont, actually, way down in the bottom right hand corner. And Beaumont is
you're
where
almost
the
Cajun.
yeah, that's right, that's right. If I stand up on my roof, I can see Louisiana
That's right.
for sure. Um, the but we held it here. We hosted it in our region. It was great. All the Masonic organizations in this area, and some from the Dallas area as well, contributed with some donations, and made it a wonderful event for those kids. But going back to our topic today, as always, I absolutely love whatever topics we come up with, and you guys see me clacking away on the keyboard or making a note. It's because I'm either messaging uh, one of several brothers from my lodge, or typing something into my to-do list to make sure that I need to go back and recheck that. And as we were talking about it, and then we brought up that Zach had pushed out some information that he had received, I went back and looked, and I said, yep, for sure, our list of lodge officers on Grandview has been updated, but our contact information hasn't. So it's something that, that's on my to-do list. Got to get that knocked out over the next couple of days. It's just stuff like that that we're looking at, and every time we talk about something here, I can carry that back into my life, whether that's in my life in masonry, my life with my family, my life in my usual vocation, all the different things that we're doing, that we talk about can be carried back to where we're at, what we're doing. So I just want to say thank you again, and we're going to continue to grow and continue to do our best, and keep that digital footprint heading in the right direction. I also, like Brad, missed the first little bit. I was having some technical difficulties setting everything up again today. But there was one thing that as I got in here, probably about 10 minutes into the thing, they just kept rolling back in my head because I went to one of our Grandmasters conferences today or this year, and today it reminded me again of one of his bullet points, which is when it comes to online presence and it comes to social media, don't post stupid, and we'll leave it right there.
Sounds like Jim. Don't post stupid. It also said, oh, I should, oh, golly, that sounds like most worshipful. I, that also sounds like our right worshipful Enderley as well. I love them both. They're both dear friends of mine, and it sounds like both of. It actually sounds a lot about a lot of my dear friends. I'm probably the worst about that, but they are some of the ones that have helped me to to be better in that regards. And so, yeah, it takes a village, people. It takes a village to get me to get me shaped up. I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
Oh, that's all I had. That was it. We're gonna
Okay,
leave it right
that
there.
was
We're gonna
great.
quote most worshipful and say, "Don't post stupid," and that's me. I'm done. Appreciate it. Thank you,
Nice,
everybody.
nice. That's a great one. Brother Daniel Dutton, our local expert on algorithms and how to get the most out of your message, and one of my dearest friends and brother.
Man, I'm feeling all sorts of the tinglies over here, Dennis.
You ought to. You ought to. I've been
get,
thinking about
getting
you all
hyped up
day.
here. I appreciate it. So, well, thank you so much. No, I think don't post stupid is, man. I don't know how I can improve on that, but I'm going to try for a moment. I'm going to try for a moment.
There you go.
I think the biggest thing is as we think about this, Freemasonry for a long time has been, again, maybe not publicized in the way that a lot of Freemasons think of it, right? We love the fraternity, we love the organization, we love what we do. That's why we're on here. That's why we're on here on a Sunday night. That's why each and every one of the people who's been on this live tonight, whether on YouTube or here on the Zoom call, have been here because we love it. And if you love Freemasonry, help share that love, talk about it with folks. I was actually speaking with someone earlier today. They saw my Masonic ring and were asking me, "Hey, what circle are you in? Meaning, what degree was I? What was this?" And I said, "Hey,
Inner
I'd love to
circle.
talk to you about this." I'm in the oh, you know what? Dang it, I forgot about that. I should have mentioned that. But it's the opportunity to talk about it in a way that is going to encourage other people to continue to ask questions, right? I know, Brad, you talked a lot tonight about, what can we say, what can't we say? If nothing else, have a good elevator pitch, have a good 30-second, not just we make good men better. That's great. But like, what does that really mean to you as a man and as a Mason?
Yes.
What's going to really make you go, huh, I now have 4 more questions about that. What can I do? Where can I go to find more information? What can I do? And then when somebody does reach out, and Jacob, I know you mentioned this a lot. A lot of times it comes to us as the people who are active in our lodges who are going to do those things. But at the same time, maybe we can have that one brother who loves to talk on the phone at our lodge. And hey, brother, I've got somebody who needs to talk about Freemasonry. Maybe we can connect them with that guy. I know there's a brother in my lodge who that's about all he can do is talk on the phone. He doesn't drive anymore. He doesn't get out of his house, but man, that guy can talk on the phone. And I love him to death because of it. And the best part is he lives right around the corner from me. So I'm the one who gets to pick him up for lodge. But I love him, and I'm glad he's there, and I'm glad he keeps coming to lodge because he's older. But he does. I mean, he's got a fire about Freemasonry. He was actually my top line signer, too. Um, that's a different story for a different day of how quickly I got my petition. But that being said, he's fired up about Freemasonry, and when you talk to him about it, you do walk away with 5 or 6 more questions because you're like, well, wait a second, tell me about this, tell me about that, and they're not bad questions. They're great questions. They're questions that make you go, ooh, I want to know more. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? And I think that's the biggest thing is to be able to post on your person. For a long time, I did not post anything Masonic on my personal Facebook page because I was like, do I want to cross that line? Right. I'm very active in Texas Freemasons, things like that. But I've had some friends here recently with the position that I'm in my lodge. They're like, well, tell me more about that. And if nothing else, it's an opportunity to discuss Freemasonry and to discuss it in a positive way and make sure they have a positive experience, not the crazy, things that we sometimes see or hear. And I'm not here to say like, we're getting, most of the time, I think people come with a very open mind. Most of the time they come with that. Most of the time they're coming with genuine interest and genuine curiosity. And if we answer back in a positive way, they're going to continue with that. And so that's my thought. And again, I know there's some folks out there in YouTube world. If you love this discussion, you want to be part of it. Next week, Dennis is opening up to everybody. That's amazing, right? The folks who are on here tonight, we pay for this. Join the inner circle if you really love us. It's great. Keep it going. And don't forget, Dennis also happens to sell really cool Masonic aprons. If you need a Masonic apron, reach out to Dennis Yates. Dennis, I'm going to get my plugs in here right now for that one, since I made the faux pas on Facebook and asked and didn't go straight to the source.
That's all right.
But thanks for having me on. Thanks to all my friends and brothers who are here. I appreciate y'all.
Always
I thought
appreciate
you were just rage baiting on Facebook, Daniel. I figured you knew, and you were just trying to help Dennis plug whatever his
He
new
probably
Facebook
was.
I'm not going to admit nor deny anything.
I didn't know anything about it, but after a while, it finally started catching traction, and I was thinking, oh, golly, he's a genius.
Dennis, can I jump in real quick?
Go ahead.
Because I want Daniel to know this. Daniel, I need to talk with you because one of my biggest points, and it's coming up in my talk, is what I want to talk about, what excites me about Freemasonry, what's in our ritual. It is controversy. And I get into heavy discussions with Freemasons, let alone non-Freemasons, because it is controversial and it causes problems. And again, I don't want to talk about it right now, but if we hang up this video, we want to talk, or if I get a chance to talk to you another day, I would love to discuss and again, even address whether I should talk it up on the short video or not, because it's controversial and it's going to ruffle some feathers if I bring it out. So I would love to talk to you as a friend. Maybe give me some pointers. Oh, Brad, don't talk about that. Don't bring that up. That's just going to cause problems. Even though it's true, even though it's in our ritual, it's my experience. It's right there. It's in the book. There it is, right there. Y'all said it. Y'all know the words. But it's controversial.
Right. All right. So I've had a lot of messages tonight in this broadcast. I'm going to have to answer a lot of questions, which is awesome. Um, you know, y'all have all said so many great things tonight, and there's so much to cover that. Well, we've covered everything, but there's even in a closing statement, there's just really too much to cover. But the one thing that can be said is that in today's day and age, a digital footprint is vital. And there's people joke about it, but there's a saying that says if it's not on Facebook, it didn't happen. Well, there's some truth to that in today's day and age, and it's not necessarily Facebook or whatever. You got to know your demographics too, because the reality is that the 34-year-old male that's showing up the most at our doorstep, based off of real data that comes from real research with Grand Lodge. That person's probably not necessarily on Facebook. That person is probably on, TikTok or Instagram or some of that new stuff that y'all talked about. I don't even know what it is. I gotta go back to school now. Golly, I feel like a dinosaur. And I have a broadcast. So I need to get my act together. But, the reality is that we need a digital footprint. Because if we're not telling a story, somebody else is. You know, we had the guys that came on earlier today trying to troll us and make a negative out of what we were doing and trying to be ugly on our. I usually don't respond to them, and I'm glad that none of y'all really did either. Um, that's not the impression I want anybody to have of Masons. I'm not going to engage in discourse over what I am, especially with somebody who has absolutely no idea who I am or what I am. I reveal a lot about who I am as a person and as a human being on this show. I do. But as far as what I am as a Freemason, if you're not a Master Mason, you have no idea. And really, if you're a Master Mason, you only scratch the surface on who I am as a Mason because I travel a lot, I study a lot, I I belong to different bodies that I've learned a lot more from as well. And that's just all part of it. As you grow in Freemasonry, you do different things and you have different experiences and you become a different human being. Not a bad human being, you just become different. In fact, it's made me a much better human being than I once was. That being said, on the flip side of it, the the you have to be extremely mindful of the content that you're putting out there. And I say the flip side. I had touched on it already by saying, you know, I'm careful on or I had already stated that we needed to be mindful. But the one thing that and that was an intentional pause for reflection before I speak. Um, the one thing that I will mention is the elevator speech. That's the 30 seconds that you have somebody's undivided attention that has actually asked you about what you're a part of. So get it together, brothers, and understand who and what you are and be willing to answer that question. And don't do it so generically that that it causes someone to think that you are or think that you're better than them or whatever. Just be as honest as you can be without revealing too much about the fraternity, because uh, we have to allow for a certain amount of surprise and unfolding on their own terms, right? If they don't have that, then they don't get the same experience as we had, and that's vital to the process. Is I guess surprise is a bad term, but a unveiling, I should say. Um, everyone deserves to have their own experience, so don't put too much out there. But you have to have something. One of the that was uh, one of Right Worshipful Chapman's big things during his first year as Grand Master was um, know your elevator speech. Have one available. And to Daniel's point with that elevator speech, remember this, that when people become Christians for the first time, or even when they become apprentices or whatever in Freemasonry, they're pretty excited about it. When somebody asks, they just can't wait for somebody to ask them what they did that night, right? And then they can say, "Oh, I became a Mason." You know, it's not it's it, that's not it, you're allowed to tell people that, right? So at least in our jurisdiction, you're allowed to. So they say, "Well, I became a Mason." Well, they're all excited about it. It's just like when somebody becomes a Christian for the first time, they get dunked in the water and they're like, "Oh, I feel the Holy Spirit. I'm going to tell everybody I'm a new man," right? And everybody's gone through it, right? Everybody that's a Christian, they've all gone through it. I went through it when I was younger, and so they all go through it. They all get excited and they tell everybody about their experience and they're all jazzed up. And other people feed off that energy. They like that positive energy that comes from them, and it makes them more interested. In fact, there's 3 Masons out of my lodge in Goliad that came from my Baptist church, sitting around talking while we're frying turkeys at the Baptist church thing back 6 years ago, I guess, 5 years ago, something like that. And we're just all talking, and they asked me about my ring. And sure enough, now we got 3 more Masons in the lodge, right? And I wouldn't say that it's always that easy. You know, one of them's an inner circle member too. He's not on here right now, but he's an inner circle member. But the point of it is that we can't be completely secretive, and if we're not controlling our narrative, somebody else is. We have a purpose. And there's people that want what we have. There's genuine people who want what we have. There's genuine people out there who deserve that we're going to be better for it if they can come in and take the reins in 10 or 20 years, right? And we have to be mindful of that. We have to have that vision. And that's what this all started on, was vision. We were talking about a lodge of 5 men, 5 old guys that were just waiting for each one to leave, until finally there was the last guy that turned out the lights, and that lodge was gone. That's a lack of vision. Doesn't matter where you are. If you're not working with purpose and intentional with your life and with Freemasonry, then one day everything you've worked for may be gone, with no one to call your legacy. I'm proud to say that I'm somebody's legacy. And I think that there's many Masons out there that are somebody's legacy. Well, every Mason out there is somebody's legacy. And so I feel like it's an honor to be able to be that legacy for somebody. Anyways, with that being said, I love you guys. I appreciate you. I appreciate every one of our friends and brothers that are on the chat week in and week out. Y'all all keep this going. And I thoroughly enjoy the conversations. It's more selfish than anything, because I get on here because I get to hear all of y'all's thoughts, and it helps make me a better person. So thank you all for being on the show, and keep it between the points.